Ben and Jerry's, known for scoops of ice cream and social justice. How does one of the largest ice cream companies owned by a multinational corporation stay true to its values while making great ice cream? I talked to Sean Greenwood, the head of PR at Ben and Jerry's, to find out. I'm Adam Chernick.
I am here with Sean Greenwood, who you are called the PR Poobah.
Yeah, Grand Poobah of Public Relations. I tell everyone it's a 4-year degree. They don't just give those out to anybody.
And what is incredible is Ben and Jerry's is the third largest ice cream company in America, and you only have two people in the PR department. Do you think that you are able to use that money more effectively in promoting social justice causes, and two people are enough, or would you like some more help?
I think some of the bigger companies have less PR people. It's amazing. Like I heard a month or two ago, Elon Musk fired his whole PR department, right? So there's some really, really big businesses that are doing it without PR people. So I'm happy that being a longtime Ben and Jerry's employee, that we still believe in kind of that power of telling the stories of the stuff that we do, right? So we do still have some resources and people like myself, my colleague Laura, that get to do that.
Let's talk about your start. You started at Ben and Jerry's in 1988, back when it was still a pretty small company. How have you seen Ben and Jerry's grow?
Yeah, I think I was about your age when I started at Ben and Jerry's. I was a young guy at the University of Vermont and had just kind of wrapped up high
Hold up,
school.
you went to the University of Vermont at 15 years old?
I was a prodigy, Adam. Come on, it was amazing. Yeah, I meant more your age, closer to your age
Yeah,
than
yeah.
closer to my age now of 53. I was closer to the 15 years old. Ben and Jerry's was like this little burgeoning business at the time when I came in. There was about 100 people that worked for the business, and we were in probably 15 countries or so. And now we're a global business and in almost 40 countries, and it's just kind of continued to grow. And so I was lucky to come into the business and be part of it while it was on this big upswing of growth, and really providing a lot of different opportunities for people like myself.
So I have to talk about this. People have accused Ben and Jerry's of being quote unquote woke. In reading comments, there was one comment which was verified saying Ben and Jerry's was communism ice cream and that they will never buy it again and
Mhm.
all of that. And you have actually talked about that. Do you believe that it is worth it to hold firm in your beliefs, even though at the end of the day, you are quoted as saying, we don't use ice cream to sell causes and we don't sell ice cream to support causes. Is Unilever supportive in your social justice endeavors, and are they okay with losing customers in order to promote the betterment of the world, basically?
It's a lot of questions in a row. I think, I'd start by saying Ben and Jerry's has this belief. When the two guys started out, they said, we don't want to just do business like everybody else does, because what they thought at the time, and which I think is fair, is that most of the time business just looks out for itself, right? That businesses say, I want to make money, I want to get rich, I want to maximize profits. And that was really what businesses cared about.
Is there
The,
anything wrong with that?
I think the difference of what the model that Ben and Jerry's provided, right at their first year anniversary, they came up with a philosophy saying business has the responsibility to give back to the community. And that idea was you could be a responsible member of the community. So you can still prosper as a business. You can still make money as a business. We make a lot of money, right? Ben and Jerry's is very profitable. You had mentioned being part of Unilever, right? So Ben and Jerry's was acquired by Unilever about 20 years ago. And so we're part of this larger organization now. What we've tried to do is stay true to our values and say, Ben and Jerry's believes this is where we should run our company. Unilever has a whole set of values on how they believe the company should be run. So Ben and Jerry's as an own subsidiary has to make sure that we're playing within those boundaries, right? And at the same time, we try to do that while we stay true to what it is that we believe in. So that idea of giving back to the community and being able to use what our co-founders call businesses as the most powerful source in society today, right? Businesses is where money goes. Businesses influence politics and politicians. And so there's a lot of opportunity for us then as businesses to get involved in these issues that are really important. And we can hopefully try to make a stand and take that case that we say we want to use this power to be progressive, to share. So it's not just about, can we make Ben and Jerry's rich? Can we make Unilever rich? But how do we use that those resources to be able to say, let's take a stance of those things we care about, like the environment or women's issues or sticking up for people of color.
In interviewing people, I sort of stalked people at my local grocery store in the ice cream section. And in interviewing people, a lot of them were saying that, when they buy ice cream, it is consistently the same flavor every time, and it's on their list, a lot of it. And
Hmm.
when I looked at Ben and Jerry's, I noticed the price. The Ben and Jerry's is in a category called super premium, which means you use higher quality ingredients than, let's say, cheaper ice cream. So why should somebody pay more for Ben and Jerry's when they can get ice cream that's cheaper? Is it the values, the taste? Why do you think people are willing to pay more?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you've got earbuds in right now. Are you going to buy an $18.95 pair of earbuds, or are you going to go look for earbuds that are a couple $100? And why is it you're going to invest in that, right? It's the same kind of idea of what's the value upon the return, and then are you willing to buy, even let's say you find a great $200 pair of earbuds that are on sale for $150, but they're made in a country that's demeaning to its people and doesn't give them equal opportunity, right? So that's the world that we live in today. And I think what we hear, again, when I was a college guy 35, 40 years ago, we didn't make purchases deciding on values. When I walk on a college campus today, I see all of these memos up that say support fair trade, and do you know where your water comes from? And there's so much more of a progressive nature. Ben and Jerry's has continued to evolve that way. And like you mentioned, we don't do it from a marketing angle. Have you ever tried our half-baked ice cream or chocolate fudge
Uh,
brownie? Right.
yes,
So
yes, I have. To
both
my
of those
mom's
have
dismay.
both of those have brownie chunks in it. That's from a bakery called the Grayston Bakery in Yonkers, New York. They employ homeless people. They give them job skills and training. They have an open hiring policy. So if you've spent time in prison before, they do not hold that against you. They give you a job, let you work on it for 100 days to become an apprentice baker, then bring you in as part of their full team. We could buy a cheaper brownie, right? These brownies are more expensive, but it's a super premium quality brownie. We want to make great quality ingredients for a great quality ice cream, and you nailed it with a super premium quality, right? So it is more expensive, but we also want to do it so we can use, if we know we have to use a brownie, why not use a brownie that's going to help this community out, provide jobs and an opportunity for these people to get their lives back and to get their feet back under them, right? That's the way to try to be creative and to use this power of business to do something better.
I'd like to read a press statement. Ben and Jerry's was one of the first companies ever to publicly support the Black Lives Matter movement. But in this press release, it says, to be clear, 94% of Ben and Jerry's workforce is white. Our home state of Vermont, where we have 2 manufacturing plants and our corporate headquarters, is 95% white. We have a wide range of opinions, attitudes, and experiences about race represented among our employees. That was in 2016, I believe. How has Ben and Jerry's, January 6, 2016, how has Ben and Jerry's worked on improving that diversity? Because
Yeah.
America is not 95% white.
No, and there's, so part of it you can look at it and say, what's important then? Is it important to be a cross section of America, right? So if you say, if the American population is 13% Black, is that what you want to get to an equilibrium, to say, okay, now we have 13% Black people working at Ben and Jerry's, now we've accomplished, like, does that fulfill what the goal is? What we've actually been doing internally is we've got 4 different teams that have been working on what are those key KPIs that are really important in Ben and Jerry's. To that example, right? Is 13% right? Does it mean we want 5%? Do we want to just double our percentage? What's the important piece that way in those KPIs? We've been looking at how do we try to include more people of color in our franchisee system, right? There's about 225 Ben and Jerry's scoop shops around the country. We've got a handful that are owned by people of color. We want to try to say, how do we increase that? We want to increase our culture at our own office space here in Vermont, right? We've all been working at home during COVID, but when we get the office back open, hopefully later this year, how do we have a working environment and situation that people of color go, I want to work for this business. This is a good business. All right, so we're looking at all of those, as well as the last one is suppliers, right? We just talked about Grayston. We want to say, how can we source more ingredients from people of color? So that's the internal work that we've been doing. The external work that's been really ever since that statement, right, that we put out in 2016, we signed on to Black Lives Matter and said, we need to learn as much as anybody and understand how can we have an impact, right? The issue around systemic racism and oppression that's happened in this country is not a Black person's problem to solve. It's everybody's problem to solve. And so the idea of it doesn't matter if you're white or Black or brown, it doesn't matter your gender, your sexual preference. This is an issue that you need to work on. We need to have everybody working on this together. And so for us, it's not about, do we have a right to get involved to work on race issues? And we've done that over the last 5 years, whether it's around implicit bias and systemic racism, or stemming the school to prison pipeline, or trying to close down prisons that are unfair. We've continued to do that work and put those in our flavors, right? So we had just a couple years ago, we brought out a justice remixed flavor, right? And that flavor was specific to talk about our criminal system in the US, how it disproportionately affects people of color, right? So people that look more like a skin color like you or I can commit a crime or not even commit a crime, but if we're walking down the street, we're not going to be stopped as often as people of color. And so we've been on a learning journey, right, to understand that and see where can we make that impact. That's evolved, right? This year with the death with the murder of George Floyd, right, we took a real powerful position to respond.
You called it murder. A lot of companies are like, this is unfortunate, Black Lives Matter. You frankly came out and said, defund the police. And in reading Facebook, oh my gosh, you really got a lot of Karens and just a lot of people just really angry. And they were like, I will never buy Ben and Jerry's again, and all of that. And I'm sure for prospective companies who are like, hey, we want to come out and say these statements. This is what we believe, but we don't want to alienate our customers. We want to do Black Lives Matter, but let's not change anything. What you've talked about, how you may have a smaller amount of people, a smaller margin of people willing to buy your ice cream, but they come back again and again and again. What would you say to other companies who are, worried about losing some customers in exchange for, having strong values? Whether or not you agree with Ben and Jerry's values, I think we can all agree you guys have some pretty strong values and you stand by it. What would you say to other companies concerned?
Yeah, we've never heard we're the Trump of ice cream. I like that from your quote earlier. That's a new one for me. And right, I think part of it is fair that we're passionate about what we believe in. And so the thought of us saying we want to do good things with our company, we do want to talk about these issues, right? Things like global warming, we believe in. Gender equity. When we look at how to support the LGBTQ community, there are issues out there that exist that we can provide our voice, that we get a lot more people to listen to us because we're a company, right? If you or I as individuals go stand on the street corner and try to shout and say, I believe people should marry who they love and it's not about gender, people don't heed that much to those individual shouts as opposed to a business, right? That shows some of the power of business. And so we feel like we can do that. Our message to other companies is that we not only feel like it's important for our own identity, but I think what we're seeing is that folks today, again, the millennial group of folks who will be your folks will support your company, right? They may purchase your ingredients or in goods and services, or may choose not to, but most of them today are saying we need a company that takes a stand on something. It doesn't mean we have to agree all 100% of the time, but to just say, I'm here just to make money and I'm not going to go either way, right? And I think most of the time, the communications that are out there that exist today to say, what are companies doing? What's their environmental impact? What is it that they do as they profit and prosper? How do they help take care of the global community? And I think when those organizations do something that's valuable that way, people want to support them.
I've seen a lot of ads for oil companies who are basically saying, we are committed to being zero emissions and making the earth a better place. You guys are in the legitimate business of oil. I mean, give me a break. How do you actually show that it isn't a marketing statement? It isn't PR. It isn't just, we want to sell more of this ice cream. Let's slap a name like Ido, or Justice Remixed. How do you show that you actually care and that it isn't just marketing? Because that has been, a lot of people are like, Ben & Jerry's doesn't care. They're just an ice cream company, and they're owned by one of the biggest companies in the world.
Mhm.
How do you respond to that criticism?
Yeah,
How
it's
do you
action.
show? How do you show that that's not true?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you answered the question. How do you show it? It's action, right? It's when you get involved with these issues and you say, right, go back and look at our website right now and look at the last 5 years of racial justice work that we've done. There it is. He's done his homework, right? That you see it. You see that picture you just showed there. That's the beginning of our racial justice journey. That was a December 2015 trip that was posted in January 2016 that said, we're going to go to North Carolina and we are going to talk to NGOs there to say, we want to help with racial justice. What can we do? Right. And because we've taken that, taken their feedback and looked at what we could do, it's been about action. So how do we continue to get involved with those things? And that's where when the people say, if they say I disagree with what you're standing for, I'm fine with having that action. When they say you don't really care about this, you're just doing this for marketing, I'm like, I gotta disagree with you. I think what you see, the actions that we have done month after month after month with this business, and now I've been fortunate to be with this business for over 30 years to watch that. It's not perfect. We definitely make mistakes and we have areas that we need to improve in just like anybody else.
What do
But
you
in
think some of
terms,
those areas are? Sorry for interrupting, but what do you think some of those areas are?
yeah, we leave an impact just like any business does on the environment, right? We run manufacturing plants, we have trucks that bring ice cream out. And so what we do is, as you're bringing up those oil companies, is we try to take action and try to show and put it out there and say, we've done things like put a self-imposed carbon tax, $10 per metric ton as we put carbon out into the environment. We've helped build methane digesters on our dairy farms here in Vermont. We've looked at how do we reduce waste and increase recycling and look at being an environmentally sound player to try to actually reduce our net on the the impact on the world that exists. So we aren't perfect. We have an impact that way. We need to continue to do that. And I think that's one just around the environment. In terms of equity issues, we need to continue to walk the talk and try to both do the work outside of our business in terms of supporting racial justice, supporting women, supporting equity, right? And to continue to do that work internally. That's really important. And it's no excuse to say just because you're in Vermont that people of color, yes, they're not as much a part of the population here, but we feel like if we can continue to work on our business and have it be something where people of color would like to participate, we're going to see that number grow.
For flavors, you have people who basically create the flavors, and you've talked about labeling GMOs. Is the flavors just plain this tastes good, or is there science behind it? Sorry.
No, I'd say sometimes it's trends. Sometimes it's something that's popular, right? And you go, if pomegranate is all the rage right now, we listen to some of those trends that are going on. And
Oh
if people love
God.
that, we say, okay, let's look at and explore that. A lot of time, we've got a team of a half dozen folks that work full time making new flavors year round. That's their job. And so they're always trying to come up with cool combinations. And then when you take on some inspiration, whether it's a cool partner, right, the Colin Kaepernick flavor that we just announced in December, that you go, great, let's do some caps of vegetarian. So how do we do something, to be able to make sure that it's a product that he would want, that he would eat? He's vegan. So you go, okay, how do we do that? And that kind of brings together some of that magic in terms of flavor development.
And that's a huge segment. Ben & Jerry's is one of the entrepreneurs, the big players in vegan ice cream. I think you guys saw that was going to be a big trend, and you were able to capitalize on it. How important do you think companies moving into those sorts of places are? And do you think that as a company that is so focused on the missions that you are, you can basically, can you keep on doing vegan products while selling dairy? Do you think that it's just another option, or they're competing almost?
Yeah.
And also, why is the vegan cost more? When I was there, basically, this is the main question. Vegan ice cream costs about $1 more. What's up with that? Shouldn't it be less because there's no milk?
All good questions. I'm going to wrap up with this since I got to move on to the next meeting. But the vegan movement was because we're listening to our fans, right? Our fans are asking for it. That's why we want to put it out there. And while we have 14, 15 vegan flavors right now, we started with 4 years ago. and said, let's see how these do. The response was incredible. People said, I don't usually get this quality along with these big chunks and swirls. It's Ben & Jerry's the way we want it, but no animal products, right? So that was us bringing it to a fans, was really the biggest piece. It wasn't us just saying, okay, let's try to make more money. It was, we hear that that's demand is there, and it's continued to grow. And what we find now, I think I had a reporter a few weeks ago ask me, do you think, when do you think it's going to move into the mainstream? And I'm like, 5 years ago it moved into the mainstream. Like people, and I put myself in this category, when I walk to the Ben & Jerry's freezer and open the chest at the end of the day, and there's 3 free pints waiting in there, and I look and I see that caramel almond brittle, which is almond milk based, it's delicious. I'm buying it. I'm putting it in my bag and taking it home because it's a delicious flavor. It's not about me saying, am I trying to get more animal products or less animal products into my diet, right? So I think it has already crossed into the mainstream. In terms of the cost, it's line priced with what's in the industry, right? So there is some costs that go into it still that are super premium, but that is pretty much what the line price is on those. So that's where we, usually tend to play within that same range. But the movement of vegan stuff is just great now. So we're
My
happy to
last
be able to
question
do that.
before you
Yeah,
go.
please.
My last question is, how would I be able to get 3 free pints a day? Do I have to work there? And do you think that maybe you would like to, I don't know, send me a coupon for 3 free pints and just forgo it? Because I'm sure you don't appreciate it that much, considering you have it every day.
I'll take a week off, Adam. I'll donate you my 3. You can pretend you're a Ben & Jerry's employee for the week. It'll be a nice way for us to wrap this up.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.